Hi, today we're going to talk about finding the area of composite figures. Composite figures are just shapes that are not our standard rectangle, triangle, circle, that kind of thing, that we already easily know the formulas for. Really what they are is they took these shapes, the rectangles, the circles, the triangles, and they put them together to make something else. So if we look at what's on the screen now, this is technically a trapezoid, but we don't have the formula for that at the moment. And so what we can do is we can actually just split this right here. You notice, whoa, look at that. We now actually have a rectangle and a triangle, which we do know the formulas for. So if my task is to find the area of this figure, this composite figure, meaning we have multiple shapes put together, then first I'm going to find the area of the rectangle. The formula for area of a rectangle is just length times width. So we just multiply the two numbers together. So 8 times 5, so I should say 8 inches times 5 inches. And that's going to equal 40 inches squared because area is always in units squared. Now that was the easy part. It gets a little bit trickier over here. We know that all the way across the bottom of this shape was 14. But we also know that this part right here is 8. So we can solve for this part over here. We just do 14 minus 8, and that equals 6 inches. So this length right here is actually 6 inches. Now, this dashed line, the other side of the triangle, makes a 90-degree angle. So here we have our base, and here we can have our height. Well, it's just the height of the rectangle, which happens to be 5 inches. So now, we can solve for the area of this triangle by doing base times height divided by 2. So 6 times 5 is 30 inches squared, divided by 2 is 15 inches squared. And our last step is, because the goal was to find the area of the whole thing, we're just going to add those two numbers together. 15 inches squared plus 40 inches squared is going to be 55 inches squared. So that's our first example of a composite figure and finding the area. I'm going to show you one more example. Here we have, I don't know, some kind of weird thing. I can't even come up with a name for it. And we have some numbers here. We can, though, if we split it right here, then I can come up with some names for the stuff we have here. Because here it's just a rectangle, and here it's called a semicircle. That just means it's half of a circle. We can find the area of these things. So let's start with the rectangle. It's easier. So the rectangle is just 8 times 10, or 8 feet times 10 feet is 80 feet squared for the area. Now a little bit trickier here. We know all the way across this is the height of the rectangle, which is 8 feet. Now, our formula for area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. Well, radius is only halfway across a circle, but this tells us the diameter is 8, so we can figure out the radius. It's just half of 8, so half of 8 is 4. So the radius is 4 feet. Now that we know that, we can solve for the area. We use 3.14 as pi, times our radius is 4 feet, and we're going to square that. So the area of, if this was a whole circle, 3.14 times 4 squared equals 50.24 feet squared. Now, that's if this was an entire circle. We actually only have half of a circle, so we have to just divide that by 2. That's really like cutting it into 2 sections. We're cutting it in half. So divide that by 2, and we get 25.12 feet squared is the area of this semicircle or half circle. And we're not quite done yet. We have the area of our rectangle. We have the area of our semicircle. Now we just have to add the two together, which looks like it's going to be 105.12 feet squared. There you go. So that is solving for the area of composite figures.